Hello, everyone. So I just finished watching the first episode of Miss Marvel on Disney Plus. So this is MCU's newest hero, Kamala Khan, making her way into again the MCU. So they being Marvel Comics, have really been pushing her character for quite the number of years. I want to say for the past 5 years, she has been everywhere from comic books, animated series, video games, and now her own, again, her MCU debuts. So this first episode was 45 minutes long, and it's going to be the usual Disney Plus 6 episode series, and it's going to be releasing weekly. So, yes, without further ado, let me get into my review for episode 1 of Miss Marvel. So, Camilla Khan is the New Jersey raised high school girl who learns that she has polymorphous powers, and her powers are very different in terms of this show compared to what they were in the comics. But basically, this first episode is basically about her just trying to adjust to high school life, the pressures of having to figure out what she wants to do with her life at such a young age and so quickly. It feels like in a matter of seconds that she has to again be herself, embrace herself, but also to think about the future, think about what she wants to do in school, constantly focus on it, but also be a daughter to her parents and have the traditional values of her culture and what her parents want her to do. Just basically being forced to live so many lives when she doesn't quite even know what she wants to do with her own life. And I found that there was decent commentary for that from, I mean, most high school TV shows. But I do find that they are kind of nailing her character right now in ways that again are believable. I mean, I feel like some people might find her coming off as way too teeny, or the show just kind of coming off for us that way. And honestly, I can kind of see that in a few ways as well myself, but nothing that's too bothersome because I mean that's again how she was in the comics and that's how the character is supposed to go. But really, this first episode is about her and her friend trying to sneak into something called Avenger Con, which is just basically a big cosplay celebration of the Avengers, the sacrifices they made, again, just their heroism. But her parents do not want her to go. And this is kind of through Avenger Con and kind of making a Captain Marvel costume for herself because she's a ginormous, basically, Marvel fan or Avengers fan, and especially a Captain Marvel fan. Bringing her culture and herself to the costume unlocks her power, where she finds a bracelet given to her by, or given to her family by her grandmother, which again unlocks very cosmic looking powers. But basically, what she has in the comic books is given to her by this bracelet. That's from this first episode. We still don't know exactly what powers it. Well, we don't know at all. I have my theories that they're going to be like pre the NEGA, so the Negabands, or they're going to be we saw Miss Marvel at the end of Shang-Chi in the after credit scene where she was kind of analyzing what the Ten Rings were, and from the comics we know that those were the engines used to power the spacecraft used by Fin Fang Foom and his race of dragon-like creatures to come to Earth. So I'm wondering if this band might be something from again Fin Fang Foom's race. Not too certain or if it's going to be Kree or something completely different. Again, they haven't really gotten into that, but I hope we get answers to that somewhat soon because that's kind of my main draw into watching the show is figuring out again why her powers are so different in the MCU compared to what they were in the show. I mean, a lot of people think that it might just be the people didn't want to, or sorry, Marvel didn't want to confuse her powers with someone of like Reed Richards of the elasticity. But I do want to say that her powers, the scene where she first realizes her powers and starts using them, the CGI is pretty not great. Not great at all. It looks really goofy and unfinished in a lot of ways. And two, there's just one scene where I don't want to say too much, but basically a prop from the Avenger Con set gets it just starts rolling around in ways that it was almost like a pinball machine. I have no idea how it was actually supposed to be like that, but I found it was just really corny and cheesy. And for again something that's supposed to be super spectacular and showing off her powers in a memorable way, just turned off as something goofy and almost laughable. And definitely not enough for me to stop watching this show or try and clown it too much, but it didn't look all that great. So kind of seeing these powers going forward, I'm a little nervous because if they're not going to look that great, I don't know if I'm going to believe in the powers or like them really much at all. Again, a lot of it right now is riding on the origin of them. But yeah, I found like this first episode was, I mean, it was decent. It is stylized in a lot of ways where I like the music choices that they have. I mean, playing The Weekend and a bunch of culture and music, Pakistani music, I found was a very, very good choice. And they used it in really good ways that were very entertaining and just added to the scenes and the characters, the culture of what the show is trying to do. It is very stylized in a lot of ways. There's one scene where she's texting her one friend. I actually like her friend more than I like her herself right now. Like she'll be texting her friend and there'll be neon lights in like New Jersey convenience stores and little things in the background that'll be the text of what they're saying to one another. And I found that was actually really a really cool way again just to show all of these things. And there's a big montage about her creating YouTube videos about her YouTube channel talking about powers and just the Avengers and why Captain Marvel's her absolute favorites. And I found that that was very hyper stylized and very, very fun to watch. There's a fun like little thing where she says she thinks that Thor might secretly be a gamer, and that's what her next episode is going to be about. So again, she's a Marvel stan, and you can absolutely see that in it. And there's a lot of fun that they do with it. The Avenger Con was very, very fun to watch, and just seeing again kind of the passion for Marvel and the Avengers come out in this show was again cool, and it just again plays into that element from the comics where she's such a fan of being a superhero that that's what's going to basically obsess her with being one herself and do it in a bunch of ways. I've heard that they said that they want to kind of take the arc that Spider-Man, so Peter Parker had in the MCU, where he was extremely reckless and he had to learn a lot of hardships in order to become the Spider-Man that he was at the end of No Way Home, and they want to have that arc for her. And this first episode is definitely that reckless side of what we saw with Peter Parker in the earlier MCU films. So if they're able to pull off something like that in this series or just further down the line, I think that's going to be absolutely great. And again, great groundwork because the growth that they were able to get Peter in those three movies was fantastic. And by the end of No Way Home, I walked out as an absolute Tom Holland is an amazing Spider-Man. And the rating that he had was again it's very, very good to make him a very mature and fully realized responsible Spider-Man. And I hope they're able to do this with Miss Marvel because after this first Avenger Con scene, it wasn't really all too great. So we still don't know who the villain's going to be. They do a little tease where I forget the name, but I remembered it from the comics. She basically sees a photo of an old childhood friend of hers, and I remember that name being Red Dagger from the comics. So I feel like they might go down the line of I mean, she's not inhuman or anything in this show, but basically people trying to steal her powers and use them for herself later on. And this kid that she knows from her childhood is going to be uses her to and get her powers and bring them to the facility he works for. I believe they were called Knights in the comics. I think that's what it was, NIC. But yeah, really with everything taken together, I was thinking about going lower, but I'm going to give the first episode of Miss Marvel 7 out of 10. I do think it is worth the watch if again you're a big Marvel fan, like I am a comic book fan. If you want to wait for more to come down the line, you can definitely do so. But yeah, it was a decent first episode. I'm gonna have to see more to make up again just what I think about the show. But it was a very slow start to Miss Marvel. But I am going to watch the rest of the series, no matter kind of where my thoughts go about it, and then do my reports once all 6 episodes are out. But if you've seen Miss Marvel, please let me know what you thought about it in the comments down below. What you're most excited to seeing this season, or what you want to see this season. Of course, leave that down in the comments. And of course, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And you can check out everything I do on my channel through a place down below, and I'll link them up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing. Turn that little bell on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out everything I do live stream Twitch-wise, link to that's in the description of this video on my channel bio, and in both those places, there's a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community, make it even more amazing than it is already. And yeah, just awesome, guys.